morning, everyone, and welcome to our October Shotsuki monthly memorial service. And this is a service in which we remember loved ones who passed away during this month of October. Can you all hear me okay? Yes? Mom, you can hear me? Can you hear me on Zoom? Yes? Okay, good. So I guess it's morning here, but for some of you it's afternoon. So welcome to our service. And we'll begin this Shotsuki service with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. Naman loves, naman loves, naman loves, naman loves, naman loves, naman loves. Okay, next, we will be reading together the Golden Chain. If you have the purple Satan, it is on 290 of the purple Satan. And I'm going to bring it up on the screen for those who are following by Zoom.
I think you could take the face shield off because it's hard to hear you.
Is it hard to hear me?
I find it.
Well, I'm not supposed. Well, I'm not supposed to, technically. Okay, so we'll read the Golden Chain together. Okay. The Golden Chain of Love. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. In gratitude, may I keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living being and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do affects not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also those of others. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. And next, we will be having the sutra chanting. We'll be starting off with the recitation of Sambujo, and in the purple seiken, that's on page 89. And then following that, we're going to be chanting the Sambutsuge, which is on page 73 of your purple seiken. For those who are on Zoom, the Sambujo is up here, but following the Sambujo, I'm going to be putting up the names of the Shotsuki individuals here at our temple. And so the Sambutsuge will not come up on your screen. When we get into the chanting of Sambutsuge, if you have an incense burner in front of you and you wish to burn incense, please do so. For those who are here in the temple, if you want to come up when you see the name of your loved ones on the screen, then you could come up and burn incense then. Namandabs, 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 namandabs. We respectfully welcome Amida Buddha to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome Shakyamuni Buddha to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome the Buddhas of all times and places to our temple as we scatter the flowers with joy. Sorry, Yoga Kokuno Nai Yoshikimyo Jojo Joses Kokunyo Nayo Nimonozo Anoimi Donanaisai Jimonaijo Jinnedujojo Inogagog Enaguano Obudushimyo Zegashinjo Otsuganohi Nigijojoyok Jimosesom Jiemuge Yoryoshison Jigashinyo Geryoshishi Shokudokuju Gagyo Shoji Ninju I was asked to not wear the shield because my uncle says he can't hear me. So I'm staying far away from everybody, and hopefully this is far enough. Can you hear me now? Yes, okay. So this morning, we've gathered here for our Shotsuki monthly memorial service, but it is also what is known as the JSBTC Day, which is a day in which we commemorate our national organization, Jolo Shinshu Buddhist Temples of Canada. It was originally known as the Buddhist Churches of Canada, and it was actually started in 1905 with the first temple built in Vancouver. Since then, of course, we have seen growth of the temples across Canada and also the decline of temples. In recent years, we have seen some of the temples close as well, but it is a time in which we honor all the pioneers and members of the Jolo Shinshu Buddhist Temples Canada throughout the country. For 1 second. At the same time, as I mentioned, we are also here for our October Shosuki monthly memorial service. And it's a time in which, through our loved ones, we are given the opportunity to reflect on the teachings. Now, I know over the course of the last half a year now, we've all gone through quite a lot with the coronavirus pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. I know this past week, all of you have probably been glued to watching CNN or whichever news station that you watch with President Trump coming down with the coronavirus and some of the other Republican members, etc. But, you know, although overall this COVID-19 has been a terrible pandemic for the whole world, there have been some positives. And one of the positives has been, of course, this online streaming, if you will. There's so many different venues and activities, lectures, yoga, etc. And also many Dharma services now that you can watch from the comfort of your house and join in on. And I've been fortunate to have been part of a number of events. Some of you probably joined us was it last Saturday? I guess it was a week ago Saturday when we had a very special lecture by the new bishop of the Buddhist Church of America, Reverend Marvin Harada, and he gave a very wonderful Zoom Dharma session. And also I've been fortunate through the coordination of our Socho Aoki Sensei, as well as the staff at the Honganji International Office located at the Center of Buddhist Education in Berkeley, California. They've organized a series of lectures for ministers. And one of the things about the pandemic is because of the situation we're in, many of the prominent scholars cannot travel, which is for us good, because that means these scholars are normally very busy giving lectures throughout places like in Japan, etc. And so it's very rare that we would have the opportunity to listen to their talks. But because of the Zoom, most of these scholars are stuck at home or stuck in their workplace, wherever it might be. And so they have some more free time to help or to give these talks. So I've been fortunate to participate in some of the lectures that they've been having online. And this past week, last Sunday, there was a guest speaker. His name is Reverend Michio Tokunaga. And Reverend Tokunaga is actually the, what we call Kangaku. And he is the highest ranking scholarly authority within our Jodo Shinshu Buddhist school. And Tokunaga Sensei gave a talk, a very interesting talk. Now these talks are mainly geared for ministers who are overseas, who originally came from Japan. So the talks are all in Japanese. But he gave a talk on the social engagement of Buddhism, or the lack thereof, particularly within Japan. And one of the things he mentioned in Jodo Shinshu, there is a passage, or there is a doctrine called Gosho Ichidaiji. Gosho Ichidaiji means the utmost importance of the afterlife. And what he was saying was that over the many centuries, in Japan in particular, Buddhism became associated with the afterlife. So we have, the importance of funerals and all these memorial services, and even Shotsuki, you might think this is talking about the afterlife. But in what he was criticizing in the Japanese temples is that by and large, over the many centuries, it became so focused on this afterlife. In other words, coming to the temple was a way of getting your ticket to the Pure Land in the afterlife, that it neglected to talk about how we live our life here today. Okay, so this was the criticism he had mainly of the Japanese Buddhism. And it's not just Jodo Shinshu, it's all the other denominations as well focus on this. But fortunately for us here in North America, our temples have developed a little differently. And I actually attribute this, Tokunaga Sensei didn't say this in his lecture, but I actually attribute it to social pressures or social conditions that the Nikkei pioneers were faced with when they were living here. So predominantly after World War II, one of the greatest social pressures was to fit in. And that meant, I think, our temples also had to act as other religious organizations. And I would like to point out, I think there is actually influence from the Christian churches in that our temples also became quite socially active. So for instance, as an example, our Fujinkai groups. In Japan, the vast majority of the Fujinkai groups are run by the temple housewives. They're the ones that spearhead it and they organize everything. And so the Fujinkai ladies basically are falling under the temple households. The temple households in Japan sort of have great power over the local temples. And what's happened over the many centuries is that the temples have been passed down from generation to generation. And this is not necessarily a good thing because not all the people that become the minister of the temple necessarily have a calling to become a minister. The temples have actually become almost like a family-run business, if you will. Okay, so that also means that for some of the ministers, they might have had various careers, but they had to become ministers because their father passed away. And so they conduct the funeral services and they do all the rituals, but not necessarily do they themselves have the calling to become a minister. Now you might look at me, I'm the third generation Ikuta here, so perhaps I'm the same thing here, I hope not. But over here in Canada, because of our different, or North America, because of the different social factors, our temples, I think, have been quite different from temples in Japan. And one of the things that, so as Tokunaga Sensei was mentioning this, it struck me, we have various events in our temples. And when I was in Toronto, this is a number of years back now, one of the fun or one major event that they used to have in Toronto was at the year end. The men's group, they called them the Sangha men's group, they would organize mochitsuki, the making of the mochi rice ball cakes. Now they would make up to 800 pounds of this. So it would go out to the community and people will make orders and then they would pound 800, up to 800 pounds of mochi. So in order, just to give you an idea of how they do it, they wash the mochi rice the day before using garbage cans. They have a special churner that they use to wash the rice. And then after they've washed the rice, on the day of the mochitsuki, they had about 4 industrial steamer or mochi pounding machines. And they actually had mechanical mochi cutting machine. So this blade would go around in circles and the mochi would be spewed out and come out into little ball. Well, they wouldn't be balls, they'd be just cut. And then people would make it into little balls. So usually for this mochitsuki event, they would have up to about 100 people coming out to volunteer. And they would have, in the social hall, they would have tables lined up because you have to cool the mochi before you can package it. And we would all line up the mochi, and there's a real production, almost like a mochi factory, mochi making factory. But in this event, there were not only temple members, but others from the community would come out to help. And on a number of occasions, we had these young Japanese, they were mainly girls. They were here in Canada on what they call working holiday. And so a number of them came out and they started coming to various temple functions. And they were surprised. They said they didn't realize that there were so many things going on at the temple. And they began to enjoy our many different activities, like New Year's party, et cetera, the ringing of the New Year's Eve bell, all these various functions. And they started coming out on quite a regular basis. But what was interesting was one of the girls, she went back to Japan the next summer. And she came back to Toronto. And when she came back, she said a very interesting thing. She said, you know, I got used to coming to the temple when I was here in Toronto. So when I went back home to visit my family, I decided to go and visit the local temple. And she said, when I went into the local temple, the minister looked at me sort of as if, what are you doing here? And so in Japan, the ministers were only expecting people to come if they had a memorial service or a funeral. So she said it was so disappointing that that she had this experience in Japan. But anyways, so as Tokunaga Sensei made this criticism of the fact that it wasn't socially engaged, at the end, there was a question and answer period. And Aoki Sensei actually asked Tokunaga Sensei, he asked him, you know, you've sort of pointed out the fact that the Japanese temples are not that socially engaged. And he asked him specifically, he said, is there any suggestions or recommendations that you can give on how we can actually become more socially engaged? And it's then when Tokunaga Sensei said, you should live by the golden chain of love. And Tokunaga Sensei, although he's this very scholarly individual, he had spent many years overseas. In fact, he was a professor at Harvard Divinity School for a period of time as well. So his English is very good. And he had mentioned that one of the things that impressed him the most about Jodo Shinshu in the overseas district is the passage, the golden chain of love. And if I'm just going to bring it up again because we had looked at the golden chain of love this morning. We read it together, and I'm going to just bring it up and share it with you. So if you have your text, you could look at it as well, right? Now this golden chain of love, and I've talked about this before, was actually created in Hawaii about 100 years ago. And it was created by Dorothy Hunt. And Dorothy Hunt is famous, her and her husband. They created many of the English gathas. They were Christian missionaries originally that became converted to Jodo Shinshu. And for us as Canadians, we could take pride in knowing that Dorothy Hunt actually was Canadian. She came from Canada. But this golden chain of love, which all the Dharma school children recite regularly, is said to be probably the most important, or one of the most positive aspects of Jodo Shinshu in North America. And it actually started off not in this form, this text, but it originally started, I'm a link in Lord Buddha's Gongchen no Love. And that was changed in 1970. As you can imagine, the word Lord has some very Christian connotations to it. So it was changed to Amida Buddha's Golden Chain of Love. And in there, the version that we use, it does say, I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, etc. Now, interesting enough, after Tokunaga Sensei mentioned how this is very important, this is talking about being socially active, being kind and gentle to every living thing, and protect all who are weak in ourselves, trying to think pure and beautiful thoughts, trying to say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. He said, here's an actual text that tells us what we can do. But what was interesting was right after he mentioned that, there was a minister who's from the States, and he actually had a very interesting comment. And I'm going to bring something else up here. What he had mentioned, and I found this so interesting, I actually found it quite funny, was that, oops. If I can just pull this up. Let me just pull up here. What he had mentioned, and I'm just going to share it with you. There's people on Zoom here. And all of you here can also look at this. Okay, so what he had mentioned, so there was a version of the Golden Chain of Love that came out afterwards, and it says, instead of, I will try to be kind and gentle, it says, I will keep my leg bright and strong, I will be kind and gentle. It's very strong, right? And the American sensei said, try is not good enough. I will do. I thought, boy, this sure sounds American. When the sensei mentioned this, try is not good enough. I will, or I must, that kind of attitude. And I thought to myself, it's interesting how our different nations would understand things, the passages. And I came up with what I would call our Canadian version, or my Canadian version. You can agree or disagree with me, but what I thought would probably be a Canadian version might be something, let me just, I got it. Sorry, this sharing of screens takes a little bit more getting used to. There, can you all see that? Okay, well, I'll read it. This is my Canadian version, okay? I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. In gratitude, may I keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living being, and protect all who are weaker than myself. Hey, if I'm unable to, sorry, I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds. Hey, if I am unable to, sorry, Knowing that what I do affects not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also those of others. May we link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. So I just added in, as you all know, we Canadians have a tendency to say sorry and so I just added that in. That, and actually, all joking aside, Tokunaga Sensei did mention that the most that we can do is try. Because we are human beings, we are beings full of blind passions. But what's important is the effort to try to be kind, to try to be gentle, to try to think good thoughts, to try to do good deeds. These are good things to do. And so as we gather here for the Shotsuki service to remember our loved ones, this is not just a service about somebody who has passed away, but this is actually a service that gives us a message. And the message that we receive is to be kind, to be gentle to others. Through the teachings of, it's a very simple message, but it is also a very important message. Through our coming to listen to the teachings, it is not just, we're not coming here just to listen to receive a ticket to the afterlife. We are coming here so that we can focus on how I am living my life today. How am I living my life right now? And hopefully that is true, being able to act in a way that honors the memories of our loved ones. So I thank you all for joining us for this Shotsuki Monthly Memorial Service. And I'd like to ask you, wow, we have a couple more people that want to join at this time. Interesting. They're joining in while we're about to close the service, but I'd like to ask you to please join me in Gasho as we close this Shotsuki Monthly Memorial Service for the month of October. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. If you want to unmute yourselves now, I'm going to chance this light. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, I forgot. We were going to close the service with the singing of Ondok-san. Sorry about that, everyone. I forgot all about that. So you might want to, I'm going to mute you all one more time so it doesn't sound all garbled. We have Genevieve playing the organ. Just give me 2 seconds, Genevieve, as I pull up the Ondok-san.
This is my favorite.
If you could all mute yourselves just for a second so that we don't sound all garbled. Unfortunately, that's what happens when we, and I'm going to put up the words to Ondok-san. So please join us as we sing the Ondok-san. Thank you for reminding me. And now we will close the service. And if people want to say hello, we can.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you, Grant. Reverend Grant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you.
Thank
you,
Sensei.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alice.
Hi, Asari and Asari.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Reverend Grant.
Bye.
Bye, Alice.
Take care.
Hi,
Take
Matt.
care. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. It was a good talk today, Minister.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Uncle Mac. Hi, Auntie Terry.
Here, I will spotlight.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, Dad.
Let me show our, there, okay.
Kiyomi,
That's all
hello. Hi, Jenny.
Okay,
Kimmy's here too. Yeah, I saw her.
so Emily, thank you.
Hi, Auntie Masai. Hi.
Hi, Naomi.
Hi, Dad.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks,
everyone.
Jenny.
Thank you, everyone. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Abe.
Yeah.
Who is this?
That's Les Yamada.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Thanks for
Hi,
joining.
Les.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, Terry.
You want to watch a few minutes?
Oh, I'll get Bud up here.
Bud, let's get Bud up there.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bud.
Bud.
Thanks, Abe.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Bud.
Hey,
Hey,
Bud.
Terry.
Hi, thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
Take care, Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There, it's Bud.
Okay, I think everybody else has signed off, so thank you, everyone. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.